Let's broaden out the discussion. Joining me now from New Delhi is Syed Zafar Islam. He's the national spokesman for India's ruling BJP. Also in New Delhi is journalist Ajay Shukla. He's a retired Indian Army colonel. And in London is Muzammil Ayub Thakur. He's the president of the World Kashmir Freedom Movement and the executive director of the Justice Foundation. Gentlemen, good to have you on the Newsmaker. Syed Zafar Islam, we heard from Mirza Waheed, who said that this revoking of the article means all the dark things that Kashmiris have suspected over all these years. Is he wrong?
Absolutely, absolutely wrong. Let me tell you and your viewer that the ordinary Kashmiris, unlike Mr. Waheed, they were always keen and wanted that this Article 370 and 35A should be scrapped, because whatever benefits, who were enjoying those benefits under Article 370 or 35A, it's only the few privileged families, that's all. The ordinary Kashmiris were certainly suffering, and because all the benefits were only going to these people, and they were insulated from the the advantages these people had from the Union of India. So the ordinary Kashmiris are extremely excited, extremely happy. They're thrilled with joy, and I'm sure once the opportunity they will have, they will definitely demonstrate the keenness.
I haven't been able to hear from them as to whether they're happy or not, because there's a blackout and a lockdown by the Indian Army. So we can't hear it from a single Kashmiri right now. So listen, this will live forever on the internet. We'll circle back to your words once we hear from Kashmiris in the valley, once the lockdown and blackout ends. Muzammil Ayub Thakur, are you one of those elitists who's not an ordinary Kashmiri because you oppose revoking Article 370?
Well, according to the definition of your previous guest, it seems that anybody that disagrees with them is an elitist. Unfortunately, these people are delusional. They live in La La Land, and they have never probably lived inside Kashmir and integrated or assimilated with those people, understood what they felt over the last 70-odd years. If we leave the last 70 years and we just look at since 2008, the uprising that started in 2008 against Indian oppression and Indian subjugation has continued. It's manifested into something even worse, into something even more. It has forced the hand of India to take unconstitutional decisions, break its own laws, and most importantly, the United Nations resolutions of 122, 123, and 126, where there can be no changes to the situation of Kashmir, of how it is at the moment, until the plebiscite or the referendum happens. So he's completely in the wrong. He has no idea. Sitting in Delhi, he can't tell the Kashmiris how to feel. And most importantly, when they've locked everything down, they won't allow any movement of traffic. They won't allow any information to flow through Kashmir or outside of Kashmir. How on earth does he have the right to discuss how we feel and what our opinions are?
Okay, and I want to bring in Syed Zafar Islam here for some clarity here, because what's interesting is that as we've discussed this over the past couple of years or so, Article 35A was expected to be revoked, which was a part of 370, but this government went and revoked the whole thing. Is it true that the intention is to have an element of finality here from this government? It's saying that Kashmir is no longer in dispute. There's no negotiations over self-determination. The people in the valley who want the opportunity to have a plebiscite or referendum, they can get lost, and never mind Pakistan. There's no more debate about Kashmir because the deed is done and it's settled. Is that what you want?
Well, I'm sure that you have read Article 370, and the first thing everyone should know that it was temporary. Is 70 years, is it temporary? I think it should have gone long back. Unfortunately, the elitist Kashmiris feel that it was their right to have Article 370 while ignoring the livelihood of the ordinary Kashmiris and the prosperity which they will have now, something which has been denied to them in the past. Let me tell you, there are few people in Kashmir will definitely have problem, but the majority of Kashmir, we know the pulse. Unlike the elitist Kashmiri sitting on this channel, where definitely they are privileged. I must say they are privileged because most of the Kashmiris who are talking about fighting their battle is the one children are
Said
studying
Zafar,
in
allow
overseas
me
and all.
to
They
come
are
in here for a
not
second.
having
How dare
anything
you?
for
If this is
How
something
dare
that's
you?
so, Said, if this is something so fundamentally good for the people in the valley, it's interesting that it's being enforced at the moment at the barrel of a gun with thousands of troops that have rolled in and they've been cut off from the rest of the world. Doesn't sound like
let me
the
explain
most
to you.
wonderful thing that's being gifted to them right now, does it?
Well, let me give you the reason why it is being done. First of all, because these ordinary Kashmiris have been used like a bullet every time by these elitist Kashmiris and the few families who are the beneficiary all along of our Article 370. So they have been always misled. The ordinary Kashmiris will be again used by these people for protest, and they will be the one who will be the victim, not these people. To ensure that doesn't happen, we have ensured that the adequate security measures are there. And once everything gets normalized, the same Kashmiri people, ordinary Kashmiri people, will
before I
respond
get a
to these
response
people.
from Muzammil,
The elitist Kashmiris,
okay, certainly. Before I get a response from
their
Muzammil,
rights have been
certainly.
restored, which has been denied to them.
Certainly. Before I get a response from Muzammil, I have a very specific question to you, because you talk a lot about the ordinary Kashmiris who you say are in the majority. Could you name me one of them currently in the valley that supports the government's policy now in revoking Article 370? Could you name me one person?
And you would not know all the ordinary Kashmiris. You will unfortunately know only the elected.
No, I'd like one
let
name.
me tell you.
And then we'll follow up. Give us a name and we'll follow up.
No,
Give us one person's name and we'll follow up.
There
Okay, so just
are
one.
many, but
Just one.
no, allow me to complete.
Sure.
All I'm saying, ask all the ministers who are there right now, the ministers who are there in Kashmir from the valley side, ask their own team. They will say that this should have gone back, and I can't say.
Omar Abdullah is detained at the moment. Okay, but if you could just give me the name of one ordinary Kashmiri who supports this policy, just one.
I'm hinting you.
No, I want a name. One person.
No, why will I give the name? But I'm telling you all the ministers and the ex-chief ministers of Jammu and Kashmir and their team. Ask their team. They will say the wonderful thing has happened.
One
and
name.
These people should put
one name, sir. One name of someone who supports this policy.
I can't name.
You can't.
I can't name anyone.
Muzammil
But I can
Ayub
tell
Thakur,
you
come
that
in.
you will realize these people will have a difficult time going forward.
Muzammil?
Well, you've witnessed yourself exactly what the BJP spokesman is talking about. He's talking complete nonsense. He has no idea what he's saying. They're living in a fool's paradise. I don't understand why they can't accept the fact that nobody in Kashmir, it doesn't matter whether it's their own lackeys like the former chief ministers who were puppets to the Indian government, and look how they've treated them. Do you really think that anybody in Kashmir right now has any affinity to the state of India, to even the BJP? The moment the lines of communication are opened up, of which Amit Shah has already said that they have no intention of removing the new forces or opening up communications, but once that happens, you will see yourself exactly what's going on. May I also point out that this isn't the first time. Historically, India have time and again used cyber cells to silence people that are dissenting, not just people on the streets, but even on the internet, be it Facebook, social media, Twitter, whatever it is. And they continuously try and silence them. Now, when they talk about people that are elitists, I mean, you cannot translate that every single person, 99.9% of people that are in Kashmir at the moment and those that are in the diaspora are completely against what is going on. There is a massive campaign at the moment working against what has happened in terms of the application of Article 370. But
you are far away from the reality. You don't know the reality. Let me tell you one thing, Mr. Muzammil.
No. You have no right to say anything in regards to Kashmir. You are sitting in Delhi. You don't have any blood Kashmiri blood. You have no communication with anybody in Kashmir. All you've done is assaulted, murdered, killed people under the pretense of some kind of secular India. You have a Rashtriya. You have a simple system of alienating people, killing people, murdering people. Your government has the minority. What they've done with the minorities. Your own prime minister has murdered. Is considered to be the butcher of Gujarat. On what moral authority do you think that you had sitting here and telling a Kashmiri how to feel and what he thinks and what the reality on the ground is? No, sir, you have no right to speak. No, sir, you have no right to tell me how to feel. You have no right to tell me what the facts are. I will tell you what the truth is. I will tell you what the facts are.
We will give them jobs. We will give them prosperity.
This is not your Indian news channel that you can shout and scream at me.
Okay.
You're supposed to be the head of a democracy.
Okay.
Please
Okay, so Syed Zafar Islam is saying that you'll bring development and jobs. I want to talk a little bit about something more imminently feared and ask Ajay Shukla, especially given your previous experience as an Indian Army colonel. Is there an expectation from your end that the insurgency will be ignited by this movement, by the government to revoke Article 370, and we're going to see trouble around the corner?
Yes. Sadly, I have to say, yes, that is the case. I think that the insurgency has moved in cycles, and now we are at a point in time where this measure that has been taken is likely to rekindle insurgency. It's likely to enhance the levels of violence, the levels of alienation. And yes, I have to say that I have to endorse the position that there is probably not one Kashmiri in the whole valley who will welcome the revocation of Article 370, including the former chief ministers who have gone on record to criticize it. But I have to also say that looking at it dispassionately as a journalist, as a person who looks at the big picture, the Kashmiris have about as much chance of getting independence or freedom as the Kurds do in your own country. I think that the borders have been drawn, the lines have been drawn. These are cycles of violence that will rise and fall, and the government is prepared to take the hard steps. It supports the government's position, a majoritarian position of putting the Muslims in their place. And to that extent, I don't think that there's going to be too much success to this cycle of violence rising. There will just be more people killed, more Kashmiris killed. But at the end of the day, the might of a nation, that too a nation like India, is too much to fight against. And this is something that will go in vain, as has the lives of many Kashmiris over the years.
Okay, I'm going to get Muzammil's response, but first, Syed Zafar Islam, come in and then Muzammil can respond. Syed Zafar Islam.
See, I heard Mr. Muzammil said that we live in fool's paradise. Let me assure him, the elitist Kashmiri, that we will create paradise, another paradise in Kashmir, and prove you that you people are fools. Because you people misleading these people, and I must tell you that Bharatiya Janata Party have won the confidence of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and whenever the election will happen, this time Bharatiya Janata Party will win, and these people will have absolutely no say. Because see, you have to understand the dynamics. Because today these people were under the clutches of the elitists, and now they will enjoy 5th of August as their Independence Day. Besides 15th August as the independence of India, but for Jammu and Kashmir, the 5th August will be another Independence Day, because they will get freedom from the elitists and few families who are actually ruining their life and using them as their shield, and using them for protest, using them for everything but for the constructive work. So I think the government of India will ensure within 3-4 years, the best state in India will be Jammu and Kashmir. That is something, is the stated position of the Honorable Home Minister on the floor of the Parliament, that all the investment will flow in that state, which has never been happened. All the job creation will happen in that state, and ordinary Kashmiris will be the biggest beneficiary. But unlike these people who will always, for their own benefit, compromise their interests and safeguard their own interests.
Muzammil,
we will not let it happen.
Thakur, come in.
Well, I've been thoroughly entertained by the comedians that we've had on this show today. The reality is, yet again, these people do not know what Kashmiris want. They've never interacted with Kashmiris. They have enforced their own ideas onto us, and they are unwilling to actually listen. Please silence yourself. I didn't interrupt you when you spoke. The reality is, they have, again, please silence yourself. The reality is that they have locked up all forms of dissent. They've imposed this idea on us. It is against their own constitution. Now, I mean, let alone what Kashmiris want. It is against their own constitution. It is against the United Nations resolutions. It is an illegal manifestation of what has happened in the last couple of days. Now, if we even put that to the side, The governor himself didn't know what was going on when he was giving a brief, a so-called brief, to the former chief ministers. When the former chief ministers Farooq Abdullah and Umar Abdullah went to visit Narendra Modi, he didn't tell them anything either. So this was something very close under wraps. But I also want to mention this isn't something that has happened suddenly. We've seen this incrementally increase over the last year. First it started with Jamaat Islami and JKLF being banned. Then it was the NIA, the National Investigation Authority, locking people up and doing investigations willy-nilly based on nothing. And then they decided to break up the government between the BJP and PDP. And I mean, this has been incrementally, the BJP and the government have incrementally, thoroughly, systematically planned this to the point where back in February after the Pulwama attack, Ajit Doval had spoken with his counterpart in America, informing them of what they were going to do. On the 1st of August, yet again, the external minister had also spoken to his counterparts and also the P5 countries. They had informed them in advance on the 1st of August what they were planning on doing. This has not been something that has suddenly happened. It has been ongoing. Right. And the reality is they have never taken any Kashmiri into confidence. And even if they did, they would never have accepted those ideas anyway. Okay. And lastly, if you allow me, Article 370 is not what our issue is. Our issue is the right to self-determination, which has been there since 1947. It is granted to us under the United Nations and the United Nations Charter. Irregardless of what happens, we will continue to fight for our right to self-determination.
Okay, and Indian government. Okay, so listen, Syed Zafar Islam. Listen. We're completely out of time, but you are all invited back to the show because yes, I want to talk about that because we've had Indian government spokesmen here in the past saying, well, the bilateral talks between Pakistan and India have abrogated that right to self-determination in the UN resolution, and so on. I want to talk about possible demographic changes and Hindus moving into the valley and lots more. At the moment, we're just dying to get some word from the valley and to hear from some Kashmiris, but we can't because the place is under lockdown. But we're keeping a close eye on the situation. Looking forward to talking to you all again very soon. Ajay Shukla, Muzammil Ayub Thakur and Syed Zafar Islam, thanks for joining us.